We welcome Governor Palin and Senator Biden.
Nice to meet you. Hey, can I call you Joe? Okay, good. Thanks.
Then Senator Joe Biden versus Alaska Governor Sarah Palin in 2008. Shot at the beginning there of beloved late, great Gwen Ifill. Sarah Palin's performance in that vice presidential debate was not seen as a plus for the McCain campaign, but nor was her selection as VP overall, separate and apart from how she did in the Can I Call You Joe debate. Well, tonight, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance will be trying to score points for their respective campaigns. But at a more basic level, this debate is also a chance for the country to get to know each of them. Neither of these candidates had much of a national profile in politics at all before being chosen for their respective tickets. Since the two of them were picked, we do have some polling that shows what kind of initial impression they've made on the public at large, what gaps they might be trying to make up for tonight. Let's go for that to Steve Kornacki, who is at the big board. Steve.
Yeah, Rachel, let's take a look here at the image of these vice presidential candidates coming into tonight and put it in some context. What we're going to show you here, I warn you in advance, a lot of names and a lot of numbers are about to pop up on your screen. This is actually just the first of 3 pages I'm going to show you.
Oh,
but
wow.
What we have here is we're going back 10 elections. That takes us all the way back to 1988. And what we're looking at here is each vice presidential candidate and what their positive and negative ratings were. You know, we asked this in our NBC poll. Do you have a positive view of so-and-so? Do you have a negative view? So these are all from NBC polls, and you can see they're sort of done in order, and you have with the highest net favorable at the top of the list. And it was actually a tie. In 2000, Joe Lieberman, Democratic vice presidential nominee, 47 positive, 15 negative. That's a 32-point net positive score. And his opponent, Dick Cheney, was 49 positive, 17 negative, 32-point net positive score. So now start getting to where where tonight comes in. You work your way down the list here. You get into the second part of this page. There's Joe Biden. You just showed that clip from 2008. He was pretty popular at that point, 51-26 plus 25. And you get to the bottom of this first page, and there is Tim Walz. Right now, this is a very recent number, about a week old from NBC polling. Walz with a 40% positive score, a 33% negative score. That is a positive rating there, sort of +7. That's where Walz fits in historically, sort of at the end of this very first page. Now we're going to keep going down the list here. Second page here, you see there was Cheney in 04. He had lost some of that popularity. There's Paul Ryan, Kamala Harris when she ran 4 years ago. There's Joe Biden when he ran for re-election. He was underwater by that point in 2012. Now we go to the third page, and it's the third page where we see J.D. Vance. And these are the worst net ratings of the last 10 election cycles here. And there's Vance. This is, again, our most recent NBC poll, 32 positive, 45 negative. That's a net -13 favorable rating right there. And you can see there's only 2 that come under J.D. Vance in all of this time, last 10 elections. One is James Stockdale. Do you remember him? Ross Perot's running mate, 1992. He said, "Who am I? Why am I here?" on the debate stage. The overriding thing with Stockdale is, you can see it here, 13-27. Most people just didn't have an opinion of him. Those who did, he was underwater by 14 points. And outside of Stockdale, there's only one other lower than J.D. Vance, one major party nominee in the last 10 who had a worse net favorable score. It was Dan Quayle. This was 1992. Quayle was running for re-election at that point. He was 26% positive, 56% negative. If you remember, in the summer of 92, there was an effort by some of George H.W. Bush's brain trust to get Quayle to step down from the ticket. They didn't succeed. And this is what it looked like for Quayle in 1992 when he took the debate stage against Stockdale and against Al Gore. -30 was his net favorable score. And the only major party nominee, that's the only major party nominee of the last 10 cycles with a lower net favorable than Vance. So certainly when you look at Vance and Walz tonight, Walz's numbers aren't the best ever, but Vance's are certainly much lower than his. And so from an image standpoint, Vance comes to the stage tonight with more work to do.
And Steve, looking at those sort of that last page there, those sort of bottom of the barrel negative favorables, obviously Dan Quayle, 1992, that campaign did not win. Sarah Palin, 2008, that campaign did not win. Mike Pence in 2020, that campaign did not win. And maybe that's, correlation and not causation. Do we have any understanding about how the popularity or unpopularity of a vice presidential pick actually affects the prospects of the ticket overall, or is it kind of a scattershot thing?
Yeah, and it's one of those things that also ends up being kind of impossible to prove. We can ask the poll question in the exit poll or whatever, did so-and-so's presence on the ticket make you more or less likely to vote? But you also get into this level where, there's a million different things that probably go into every person's, sort of feeling about a candidate, a presidential candidate. And to what extent does the vice presidential candidate, sort of enter into that mix? Probably a tough thing to actually put a number on. But you're right, in terms of the candidates that were unsuccessful here, if you're a Republican and you want a silver lining on this, you'd point to this one. This was Quayle in 88. 88's when he was on the debate stage with Lloyd Benson. And Benson said, I knew Jack Kennedy. Jack Kennedy was a friend of mine. You're no Jack Kennedy. Quayle was 36 positive, 41 negative. He was 5 points underwater. But what's significant is, if this works here, go back in time. Look who one of the most popular of all time was.
Yeah.
Benson in that same election was 30 points positive. So 30 positive. Quayle was 5 underwater. That was a 35-point gap. And it did not prevent that Quayle Republican ticket from getting 426 electoral votes. That's the example Republicans would like to point to, I think, looking at those Vance numbers. Democrats certainly would say, well, look, Quayle was much worse off 4 years later in 92, and it didn't work then. And, Vance is in that double-digit negative category now, too.
Yeah, and the all-time champ there, Joe Lieberman, at least one of the tied for all-time champ there. He was never a sitting vice president of the United States. He didn't win, even with numbers like that. Steve, super interesting. Thank you so much for doing that. That wasn't too many numbers at all.
Okay, I'll hold you to that next time.
All right.